Okay, I think we're going to get started. Just want to welcome everyone to the Superintendent Danielle DiMango's Listening and Learning Tour. Thank you again for joining us today on Friday night. My name is Luis Lotito. Before we begin, I just want to just let you know that we have interpretation available both in Spanish and in Chinese. So I'm going to let our gracious interpreters go ahead and introduce themselves and make the announcement of interpretation in each language. And the way you'll do it is you'll just call the number on the screen, and then you'll enter the conference ID, and you'll be able to connect to the interpretation line over a separate device on your phone. Okay, so first, I'd like to ask Esther to make the announcement in Spanish. Esther, you have to, I can't hear you over here.
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Okay, so.
Go ahead.
Hola, mi nombre es Esther Maluto y voy a estar interpretándoles en español. Si necesitan traducción, interpretación en español, por favor llamen al teléfono 347-966-4114 y por favor entren el siguiente número 857-927-074 asterístico. Gracias.
Thank you, Esther. And if Wing can make the announcement in Chinese.
大家好，欢迎你们来到我们25校区的聆听会。如果你需要中文翻译的话，请你打347-966-4114，然后按814-939-952，然后最后哪个标志都要按的。Okay, thanks.
Okay, we ready to start? Louis, you're
Yep,
muted.
we are good. Yep, I'm going to continue to enter this information into the chat as people join so that they'll have the phone numbers, and we can begin right now with the superintendent.
So good evening, everyone. I am very excited to meet with all of you tonight. What's really exciting is I've done a couple of these listening and learning tours, and this is the most attended. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time this evening talking to you about some of the things that we've been doing in our district, some of the areas that we are focusing on this year. But the most important part of this evening is me hearing from you. I wanted to set up these opportunities for you to be able to ask questions. I know that some of you have submitted questions in advance, and I want to thank you for that. But this will also be an opportunity for you to ask any questions, but then to also give me some feedback around things that we're doing well as a district, things that you like happening, that you see happening across your schools, that you want to continue, about areas that you think we could do a little bit better. What are some of the things we need to grow in? And from a parent and community perspective, what advice do you have for me in ways to do that? All right, okay, thank you. So as I promised, Wing Yi and Esther, who are both staff members in my district office, I will try to speak slowly, so to make translation easier for them. But I just wanted, if you guys could give me a thumbs up if people have signed in and are, no, not yet.
I'm not seeing anyone in the Chinese line yet. I don't know if anybody have trouble.
Forget, I have people in the Spanish room.
Okay.
So Wing, you do have one person in the lobby. Do you see it? If you click the people button,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to let them in, and then you can go ahead and start talking. I'm going to you're good. Oh, everyone's signed in right now.
Okay, are we ready? So I want to welcome back all of our families and communities to the 2022-23 school year. I am truly honored to have the opportunity to continue serving as your superintendent and to work alongside you to further the goals of the district in service of our students. So over the past 12 years, we have done some amazing work together. And while there are many things to celebrate about our work, I also know there is exciting and thought-provoking work ahead of us as we continue to emerge from this pandemic. In classic District 25 style, we will come back stronger than ever, and we will capture what worked to support our learners during this time and address and repair the learning gaps that have emerged across our nation, our state, our city, and our district. We have to correct the learning loss in order to move forward and further our vision of strong roots and strong schools for our students. And I'm confident that together we can change this moment in our history. So the first slide that we are talking about is really, no, go back, Louis. The first slide that you all see here is our vision statement for our district. And it talks about from many roots growing as one community. This vision statement was created with parents, building leaders, and teachers. And what we wanted to capture was the celebration of the diversity across our district. Our belief and values together as a community is one of empowering learners, about embracing differences amongst all of our students, staff members, and our schools and our communities, and in providing equitable access and opportunity for all of our students. Next slide. Our mission statement talks about our strong roots, strong schools. We believe that as a district, we must learn and grow both individually and collectively to promote improvement for our schools through high quality instruction, strong curriculum, and personal and professional learning for our students and staff. We build foundations and deepen roots that embrace differences and support critical thinking, innovation through high levels of student engagement and problem solving, and student ownership and agency of their learning. We believe in order to cultivate citizens of the world through global citizenship, we must leverage student strengths and interests with a focus on social emotional supports, as well as culturally relevant practices and civic responsibilities. We must also ensure that we know our students and communities well and foster our beliefs in equity by surfacing patterns that contribute to inequity through the purposeful analysis, use, and application of multiple data sources to meet the diverse needs of our learners, and to provide all of our learners access through support, resources, and high expectations across all of our schools. This year, we're starting off strong, and what you see on this slide are pictures of many of our schools welcoming back our students in so many amazing ways. I already saw Miss Neely on this slide. Here she is in the bottom left-hand corner hugging students, but there were a lot of different homecoming activities and events for our children. We wanted them to know that we miss them and that this year is going to be better than ever. Across District 25, we successfully opened all of our schools to begin the start of our school year. And we were fortunate to have visits from our chancellor, our deputy chancellor, our comptrollers, and local elected officials who had opportunities to spend some time with our staff and students. I'm very excited to let our community know that we have expanded our District 25 team. There are many different layers of supports for our schools, but also for you as families. And what Louis is showing up on the slide right now is our DOE website. And you can access many different types of information about our district, our schools, our public meetings that we offer. It is, Louis, say the website, I always forget it.
It's www.d25.nyc. I'll also put it in the chat. And Marissa is sharing her screen today.
Oh, thank you, Marissa. I thought that was you, Louis. Up top, you will see that you can contact us via text at 347-850-3048. Or you can email us at contact@d25.nyc, and we will respond to you within 24 hours. You can also find updates on our district Facebook account, our Twitter account, and we are also on Instagram. So members of our team include myself as your community superintendent, Dr. Michael D'Antona as the deputy. Beverly Mitchell is our executive director of school supports and operations. She supports health and wellness, facilities, as well as student services. Louis Latito is our field support liaison. We have instructional leaders that are supporting our schools. That is Debbie Winkler. She's our teacher development and evaluation coach. Anna Arrigo, Angelique Hewitt, Melinda Willens are our instructional leads. They're going to be supporting us in our many initiatives, especially around literacy. We have Diana Stein, who is an instructional lead who will be supporting us on health, physical education, and wellness across the district. We have Arifa Khan and Danielle Bergman. They are our academic intervention services coordinators who will be supporting our schools with AIS and MTSS. We have Tracy Vaughn, who is our academic policy, performance, and assessment supervisor, and she helps our schools stay in compliance in terms of programming and in supporting to ensure that all of our English language learners and our students with special needs are programmed effectively across our systems. Nathan Yakubov is our administrator for special education. And he just recently this week did a presentation for our families on the IEP and MTSS process. Richard Braun supports our students and their families as well as our schools with L compliance and performance. Wing-Yi Chung, who is translating for us tonight, is our school social worker. She connects community-based organizations and health and support needs for our families who are high need and at risk in terms of mental health and wellness. And Esther Maludo is our family leadership coordinator, and she is the main point of contact across our district for our parent coordinators, families, and community members with questions and concerns. Marissa, just go back to Esther for 1 second. One of the things that I always say to families is when you call our office to speak to Esther, you speak with me. She makes sure that even if I'm not in the office on that day, that she connects with me to let me know that parents' concerns were brought to the district office, and she will contact schools, parent coordinators, and myself to make sure that your concerns are resolved. So I always say to our families, call to speak with Esther, and you will get to her sometimes before you can get to me, and she is a part of my team, and her work is to support our families and our communities. We also have Marissa Martin. She is our community coordinator, as she is our main point of outreach and communication for our local community members, as well as our local elected officials. She supports planning with the implementation of district-wide meetings, digital communications, and social media platforms. She's the one that made this beautiful slides that you're seeing tonight. And she also is supporting our district in building an aspiring leadership pipeline. And Janet Ayala Capo is my administrative assistant. You can find this slide on our website and have access to emails of all of these individual people who are happy to help you anytime you need. So tonight is part of my listening and learning tour and my 90-day plan. This is an opportunity for me to talk to the community about the things that we're working on across our schools, and for me to hear feedback from you on not only those plans and priorities and goals, but also any other questions that you may have. So the District 90-Day Plan, which is available for you at www.d25.nyc/90-day plan, talks about how we opened and started the school year collaboratively with our building leaders, our staff members, our students, our community-based organizations, our parents, and the things that we are going to do this year to make this year a year of returning better than ever. It focuses on 4 key areas: excellence, equity and diversity, wellness and safety, and empowering learners. In terms of excellence, our district values support the individual and collective learning across our school community. I believe that all students, particularly those furthest from opportunity, deserve deep learning experiences that challenge them to think creatively, to collaborate with their peers, to solve complex and rigorous problems, and to have opportunities to own their learning experiences. I believe in empowering educators to learn and grow together so they can foster environments where all of our students have access to high quality learning. Together, we will build strong foundations and support learning and innovation through high levels of student engagement, critical thinking, problem solving, and student ownership and agency. In terms of equity and diversity, I believe in the collective responsibility to ensure that all of our students are valued and challenged, and we see our scholars for their strengths and assets. As a district, it is our core value that we build an awareness and appreciation of the communities we serve. Culturally relevant teaching practices encourage us to embed content that allows students to see themselves in their learning, to follow their interests, to collaborate and critique from different perspectives, and to think critically. Across District 25, we embed culturally relevant practices to ensure we know our students and our communities well. In terms of wellness and safety, I believe that in order to cultivate citizens of the world, we must leverage student strengths and interests, including a focus on social emotional support and wellness and safety. I believe social emotional learning, restorative practices, and healthy eating and living are key to learning. In terms of empowerment and engagement, as a district community, we must grow and learn and reflect and take action to promote ongoing sustainable improvement across our schools. This includes collaborative decision-making. I believe educators, students, families, communities, and schools must work together closely to reimagine learning and have opportunities to make decisions about their schools. I also believe that students should have a seat at the table in all aspects of decision-making regarding the school experience. As your superintendent, I will consistently model engagement practices, nurture open lines of communication, and a consistent flow of information so our communities can involve themselves in making the best decisions for our schools and our students. Next slide. So these are the spaces that I'll be in terms of our listening and learning tour. You can go to the next slide. You can go to the next slide. So how are we going to do all of the things that we spoke about? We're going to do this by starting off strong. In terms of starting off strong, we will strengthen our practices through a strategic review of data. And that means everyone is responsible for knowing the needs of our students, both academically and social emotionally. We have consistently, as a district, valued the strategic use of data and not just state test data. We look at all aspects of data points, teacher references, student work products, parent and student surveys, just all the types of data that we can gather that will help us know our students well. We then take that data and look at our areas of need, and we make sure that we're targeting them so our schools can grow. Then together, collectively, we research possible solutions and ways to make our schools and our communities stronger. We work together to organize, facilitate, and communicate professional learning opportunities and the development of support plans. We then implement new learning for our teachers and students. We assess and give feedback. And then we gather feedback on all of the work that we have done in order to make sure that we are doing the right work for our schools and for our students. Next slide. So this year, this is what we're focusing on as a district. We're taking as much data as we can and different types of data from multiple measures. And our focus this year is going to be getting better at reading. Together as a district, all of our schools will be working with our principals, our teachers, our students, and our families and communities to look at the culture of reading across our schools and to strengthen it. We are also going to take our work that we've been doing at teacher teams and working in inquiry and look at our students who are outside the sphere of success to make sure that they are also getting the supports that they need through what we call equity visits. And that is where we strategically work together to study where our students are and what are the other resources and opportunities and access points that we can offer them to strengthen their areas of weakness. We will do this through MTSS, which is our multi-tiered systems of support that every school has. And I always encourage parents to ask their principals, assistant principals, and teachers around what types of MTSS supports they have in their schools, as well as culturally responsive and sustaining education so that students see themselves in what they're learning to help elevate their strengths and to support them in their areas of need. So our areas of focus and district-based support in grades K to 3 are focused on foundational reading skills. We will all be working together to help our children learn to read in these grades. Many of you, when you go to back to school night, will hear that in our lower grades, our schools are using programs such as Foundations and MTSS structures and AIS programs such as Heggerty. About 350 of our teachers this year will be participating in letters training. And that is a learning to read model that looks at reading and the brain. So what happens inside children's minds as they're learning to read and how teachers can recognize when they see students learning to read well, and what are some of the teaching strategies that they can use to support that and elevate that, but also to target students who are struggling in certain areas of the foundational reading skills and how they can support that. We will continue our systems and structures for MTSS, tiers 1 through 3. Our district focus in grades 3 to 5, we're going to be bridging our learning to read in our early childhood grades and our reading to learn that I'm going to talk about a minute as our district focus in grades 6 through 8. So in grades 3 to 5, we will be doing the 5 pillars of reading, which is those students who are having problems with phonics and phonemic awareness and decoding skills from grades K to 3. We will make sure that we strengthen them, but we will also be addressing fluency, comprehension to make sure that our students are on the right path to full reading comprehension in the reading to learn aspects that we'll be focusing on in grades 6 through 8. We are also piloting our district Clavis ELL pilot, which is around supporting our students in exploring rich and engaging text and other areas within the 5 pillars of reading. Our district focus in grades 6 through 8 will be focused in mainly our ELA and social studies classes for this year. It is disciplinary literacy standards in reading to learn, and our students will be exploring close reading of complex and compelling text at their level with access points for those who are struggling. As a district, we are going to be looking to make sure that our teachers are supported in having access to close reading of complex and compelling text, but that they're also expanding upon their practices to make sure that all students are able to read that in a capacity that they are growing in their learning and comprehension of certain topics across the year. We are going to focus mainly on nonfiction, but our students will also be reading fiction. And once again, there will be systems and structures for our struggling learners through MTSS. So our work and our clear vision from leadership is not just happening in District 25. We have aligned it to our chancellor's 4 pillars of reimagining the student experience, of scaling and sustaining what works, of prioritizing wellness and its impact on student success, and in partnering with our parents. So it's also aligned to our chancellor's big goals of all students learning to read well, of our students ensuring that our students feel physically and emotionally safe, our students having access to high quality academic experiences, and that we are contributing to his goal of students graduating with a strong plan and pathway of economic security. We are building upon our practices that we have done across the years around making families accessible to information and the supports that they will need from our schools, and they will be empowered to help their children succeed, and that our school system reflects and honors the diversity of the city it serves. Next slide. So this is an example of some activities that we have done across the district where we looked at the Chancellor's 4 pillars, and we engaged in a discussion across our schools about what we heard the Chancellor say in terms of expectations. And then we aligned it to things that we are already doing across our schools that are aligned to the pillars. So many of you may have heard from your schools around Civics for All. That is an initiative that we are continuing to do, where our students engage in research around community-based and global topics, and they give speeches to both their peers, but also to our local elected officials and across the city, just around ways that they would like to help contribute and solve those particular topics. Or our authentic learning models and our commitment to rigorous tasks, our computer science for all that exists across many of our schools. In terms of scaling and sustaining and restoring things that work, our equity visits, our math work that we've done, our early child math work with Bank Street, our CRSE work that we have done with specialists from across the country. Our focus on making sure that we have organized data systems so we're tracking student growth across the year. In terms of prioritizing wellness, we have, as a district, worked with Yale and Ruler on SEL competencies, the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. We meet monthly with our guidance counselors. We have done district-wide CRSE training, and every single one of our schools has what we call a CASE team, which is a cultural attendance and social emotional team that focuses on embedding SEL and restorative practices in health and wellness into our school communities, as well as targeting chronic absenteeism. We will continue our work with engaging with families, not just in terms of our amazing parent leadership in our PTAs and our school leadership teams, but also in parent chats and doing things what I am doing tonight with you, where I'm talking to you about some of our objectives, but also hearing from you around what you think about them, the impacts that they may be having on your children, and what are some of the things that you would like to see differently. Next slide. I wanted to take this opportunity for those of you who have not applied for your NISCA account through the parent portal. It is such an important thing to do, and you can contact your school's parent coordinator for them to assist you. Through the NICSA portal, you will be able to see your students' grades, test scores, and more. You will be able to take parent university classes that are being offered citywide. You can report bullying. You can access forms for your child, any kind of form that, a citywide form that you need to complete. And you can access the support hub all within one login. In the next few months, more features will be added, making this a true one-stop parent-facing information center to support student learning. You can sign up for your account by entering just a few basic details, and this will allow you to begin receiving notifications from the DOE. It only takes 5 minutes, and it's the first step in getting a full account. NISCA now allows you to submit digital form versions of paper forms that schools would normally send to you. Using a technology powered by DocuSign, you can fill out and sign a digital form that will be made immediately available to your school. You will no longer need to submit paper versions of these forms, and NISCA currently hosts the following: media consent for the DOE education use, requests to identify parents on active duty in armed forces, and special education recovery students, and these are for students with IEPs only. So I do encourage all of our parents to set up a NISCA account at your school as soon as possible. Okay, so now is an opportunity for you guys to ask questions. I have framed 3 guiding questions, but it is not the only way that we can engage in a discussion. What you can do is raise your hands, and Lewis will unmute you and give you an opportunity to either ask a question of your own, or you can answer one of the 3 guiding questions. What are we doing well? I always love to hear what we're doing well, but I also love to hear the impact of the work that we're doing on your children. What areas do you think we need to strengthen? This is another area, and I have learned so many things from the Listening and Learning Tour, just around things that we do well and ways that we can just work together to make little changes that have made such an impact and really were helpful to students and families. And what advice do you have for me? What are some of the things that you said, if I had an opportunity to speak to the superintendent, here's what I would say. If you don't feel comfortable speaking, you can always put questions in the chat, or you can email me at event@d25.nyc or online at www.d25.nyc/feedback. So at this time, Lewis, are there any questions in the chat first?
So there is one in the chat. And then we'll go to, we had a hand raised. So if you want to speak, you can raise your hand again. The question in the chat is, in connecting students to civic issues, encouraging them to be more civic minded, will school trips be allowed this year?
So we have not necessarily heard about trips yet, Lewis, have we? We're waiting for complete guidance on trips.
I know, I think schools can start booking trips and with school buses. Yeah, I think that's they're able to, schools are able to go on trips.
Okay, so
yeah.
That's great.
And again, if you have any specific questions about specific trips for your school, always speak with your school principal and they can help you with that. No hands raised yet. There is someone did enter a question. What advice do you have for them? I'm not really, how sure you would answer that.
I like that question. No, what advice do I have for you is just get involved in your student's school, your child's school. One of the things that I always said as a parent is that even though I was a superintendent, I never felt welcome or had the opportunity to fully engage in my students' schools, my children's school, in a way that I felt comfortable. So I will say to you, one of the ways that I did it was to make sure that I was in constant communication with my children's teachers. I would have loved to have a parent coordinator where my children go to school, because I would be in contact with him or her constantly. Just know that it is my expectation as a superintendent that parents feel a warm and welcoming environment when they come into their schools. There are times that I know that I speak with my principals and they really do recognize that. And so if I give any advice to parents, it's to really make sure that this school is a place that you feel comfortable going and asking questions. You are not alone. Join the PTA, be part of the many events that our schools offer. And if you can't be there, like me sometimes where I'm working really late at night, many of our schools have what we have, which are websites and recordings for you to be able to engage and learn. I also encourage our parents to make sure that when there is parent engagement time. Every week, teachers have parent engagement time carved out of their day where it is solely committed to communicating with parents, and you can connect with your children's teachers. So that is something that you can get from your parent coordinator.
So we have a hand raised from someone named Elsie. Elsie, you can
Okay.
go ahead and ask your question. Oh.
Yes, hi there, good evening.
Hi.
My name is Miss Chu, and I am a parent of an 8th grader. And I have a question with regards to the back to school. I just wanted to get some clarification in terms of, is there a policy currently where open school night would need to be virtual, or is there options that it can also be in person?
So each individual school just engaged in discussion around that. I think the beginning of the school year was, many of them were virtual. The vaccine mandate has not been lifted yet. So if any visitors going to schools are not vaccinated, they cannot enter the building. So I think many of our schools opted for virtual for that reason, but there is nothing preventing parents from asking for meetings at their school. I always say I love back to school night, but it is very, very, there's a lot happening. And I believe in the beginning of the school year, for the first meeting, all back to school nights were virtual, but there was nothing preventing a parent, if you want to meet with your child's teacher or your child's principal, assistant principal, that you can't make arrangements to go into school.
Okay, so just to clarify, you were saying that the vaccine mandate has not been lifted?
No.
Do you have information as far as if that is status is that under review?
I have no information about that yet. That's really done by the mayor's office.
Okay, so that would be something to discuss further through the mayor's office?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we have a few more questions in the chat. Someone is speaking about the website for grades on a day-to-day progress. I mean, I think they should really speak with each individual school around what app or what service they're using for teachers to communicate grades and assignments to parents. Charlie asks or suggests make emergency contact cards online for all schools to eliminate the need to fill out the paper version. And Charlie, if you want to put in the chat or even just direct message me which school your child goes to, parents can actually update emergency contact information in that account that the superintendent spoke about, the NISCA account, New York City Schools account. There is a place to enter emergency contact information. So I would love to connect with your school to make sure they're looking at that. But schools may still also send home paper versions for families who want to do that.
So Dina, right? What is the DOE doing for our children's safety?
Okay.
So Dina, one of the things that we say just in terms of individual schools is for parents to speak to individual schools about the safety, the ways that they manage safety for their individual buildings. So there are 35 buildings in the district, and each of our school buildings has different needs in terms of safety. But overall, in terms of the DOE, every single one of our schools engages in training. I actually just participated in a 2-hour training. Our teachers have all been involved in emergency readiness training. The last day for all schools to do that was September 15th. So all of our teachers and our staff members were part of that, as well as our principals. They participated with NYPD and the DOE in emergency readiness training. All of our schools meet together with their building response teams and organize a school safety plan that is in conjunction with NYPD. They submit their safety plans for review, and NYPD is also aware of all of the safety measures and safety plans. We work together interagency that if there is ever an emergency at a school, that NYPD is also aware of the needs of each of our individual buildings. We also have a variety of different drills to support safety. And I have actually visited all of our schools to meet with our safety agents, who I know have been trained in terms of all the different emergency readiness trainings and more that we participate in as well as DOE staff.
Thank you. Lysandra's asking a question that comes up often. It's about early drop-off in the morning. She's specifically asking for like a breakfast program that would start 45 minutes prior to school starts.
Right. So once again, I know that some of our schools did have early morning breakfast programs, and then certain schools transitioned to breakfast in the classroom. So there are no DOE requirements for early morning drop-off. But that is something that you can talk to and speak with your principal, your SLT, your PTA, and together collaboratively, where we talked about empowerment, talking about the needs of your school and what is possible and what is not possible. So we know that any kind of early morning would be in addition to the regular school day. And there is a cost that comes with that. So it's not impossible, but it is something that the community would need to discuss and see if it is viable for each individual school.
Thank you. Lady is asking in the chat. She actually asked
Spanish.
Okay. I was gonna.
Sorry, I was gonna.
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Esther. Thank you.
Do you want me to? So I just read it in Spanish and in translate. I said, Buenas noches, podría. So basically what she wants to know if you could have Saturday classes to go ahead and reinforce education for kids that might be a little behind. She was telling me on the side here that she heard that other states are offering this. She was wondering if we would ever be able to have Saturday classes to go online to go ahead and reinforce if a child's behind, or just to go ahead and give them extra push.
So, you know what? I want to ask if we could do online Saturday courses. I don't know if.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if that's something that we do per se, but I will ask if that's a possibility. And once again, as what I have said, as we emerge from the pandemic, Saturday and after school programs were something that many of our schools did. So I think it's important for you to reach out to your school's parent coordinator to see if those programs are offered, because there are many schools that do them. And if not, to be part of the conversation to see if that's possible across your community. We offer after school and Saturday programs in a lot of different areas for both struggling learners, for our new language learners, for our students with disabilities. So you can call your school to see what is offered.
Thank you. Maria brings up a frustration she's having, that she says her school recently lost their parent coordinator and it's much more difficult to get information from the school, such as they did not get much advance notice about the Meet the Teacher night. So she's just basically sharing frustration over difficulty to communicate with the school because her school lost her parent coordinator.
So Maria, if you can text or email or
actually that's the wrong number. Hold on, I'll put the right number. I'm sorry.
Yeah, or send something individually in the chat to Lewis. Let us know the school and we will work with the school to support. A lot of parent coordinators left over the summer. And I know that our principals are working really hard to hire new parent coordinators because of exactly what you said. Our parent coordinators are really such a huge support for families and getting them information. So we want to be able to work with the school to support them in ways that to temporarily help them while they're in the process of hiring a new parent coordinator.
Thank you. And Maria, I see your direct message to me. Thank you very much. And you also are welcome to text us or text us at any time, or you can call on Monday to discuss it further, but I'll speak with the superintendent about that. Thank you. Okay. So that was Maria. So EW is talking about the new DOE app for the grades on the school account. When is that going to work? It's the pupil path replacement. So you can speak with your school around if they're going to be using that tool. Schools still have the option to use other third-party applications. So speak with your school if they're going to be using that, and they can let you know when teachers will start using it. It's a new app for everyone, right? It's a new app for parents, but it's also new for teachers
Yeah, and
who
I
have
do
to
know
go
that
in.
there are schools that have reported some glitches, and we're reporting them to DIIT and making sure that they're getting fixed right away.
So speak with your school around when they're going to use it. This is a question from a parent of a student at PS20. Will you be visiting the school to speak and meet with the students at some point?
So that's a really great question. So one of the things that I want all parents to know is that every time I go into a school, I meet with students. There are 2 times a year where I go in to do what we call a principal's performance review. And during that time, I do ask to meet with groups of students and ask them questions around what they're learning. Is it having an impact? Is social emotional learning being provided for them? How do they feel about their school? What are some of the things that we can change? Are they getting the supports that they need? So I also have a student leadership group that I meet with monthly. That's going to be starting up again very soon. And those students are student leaders in middle schools, and they do promote themselves to be student leaders for students across the entire district. And we are going to be pushing that out as ways for students to communicate with their peers who will be meeting with me on a monthly basis to talk about concerns that students may be having across the district.
Thank you. So iPhone asks the protocol for lunch periods. They were told that kindergarten students are given a very early lunch period. So what's the protocol for that?
So there's not necessarily a protocol for times that lunch starts. We do know that because of certain types of programming in individual schools, there is an early lunch. If there are concerns with that, I would definitely reach out to your parent coordinator or school principal. For some schools where there was early lunch, we have been able to initiate such things as afternoon snack. So please reach out to your school and they will be able to support the early lunch concerns that you have.
iPhone also asks how can the DOE improve teacher to student ratios?
So I know you've probably been hearing a lot of news just about the new legislation that was just passed to reduce class sizes. So we're really working to see the next steps that are coming for that. And that in itself over the next few years will support your concern around teacher-student ratio. It will be reducing class sizes from 33, 30, and 29 to 20, 23, or 25, 23, and 20 over the next few years.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just jumping around a little bit, but similar to Karen, similar to that question, Karen also asked about high ratios in G&T classes. And she's mentioning a 32 student class size, which is the current, contractual class maximum size for a class. And I think the superintendent addressed that. Dina is asking, is there any sexuality related programs implemented in our kids' curriculum?
I don't, I mean, there is a health curriculum, but not necessarily a curriculum that focuses on sexuality.
Okay. There was a SERS after school program to help children begins with reading last year. So they're asking for an after school program, a SERS program that helps students with reading. That's Lindsay.
So the SERS program there is a possibility for that program to continue. What happens when a child's IEP is for their annual, one of the discussions that both parents and the team engages in is if the child would benefit from SERS and if it's still necessary. So yes, that is something that schools may have available to you. But once again, I like the fact that parents are asking all of these questions just in terms of what is available for after school and weekend programs to help support closing some of the achievement gaps that we're seeing and strengthening student learning opportunities. So once again, I would say to you can visit your school's school leadership team meetings. You could also engage in conversations with your principal and your child's teacher to see what's offered in terms of after school.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask, so Dina's asking a little bit more about the health curriculum. So Dina, I'm going to ask that you contact the district office. I'll put the contact information.
And Dina, the health curriculum is directly from the state. You could actually look at the health curriculum on the state website.
I don't have it handy right now. I probably can find it soon, but if you just send us a text or email us, I'll put the contact information in the chat again. I'll be happy to respond with the direct link to those resources and even connect you with the person on our team that does health as well, if you have any specific questions.
Yep, and I do see that V. Lang said the school that has the lunch issue has no parent coordinator. So once again, you can contact your school's principal or main office, or you can email, you can text Lewis, and we can support you in getting that information to the school so somebody can reach out to you.
So I see that Wing has her hand raised. I guess she has a question from the Chinese interpretation room. Hi, Wing.
Hi, I think this is maybe also a suggestion or a question is for the students to have the opportunity to visit different museums and institutions as a school tours, or just being able to have the opportunity to go visit these places for free.
Oh, yes, yes. No, there are many of our trips that our students take across the city for museums and other arts institutions are free of charge. So one of the things that I will take back to our school communities is that parents are hoping for and asking for trips to make sure that students have access to opportunities outside of school. And, you know, that's actually one of the things that the chancellor supported and has spoken to superintendents and principals and schools about, is using New York City as a landscape of learning. So we're definitely supporting that this year. Oh, wait, Lewis, you're muted.
Wing, are there any more questions in your room? Or Esther, if you want to ask your, okay, Wing has another one, so she's gonna get it. And Esther, ask your room as well if there's any questions as we approach 7:30. We have another question while they get those about
Spanish is no, they're okay.
Thank you, Esther. So another question that's in the chat, or a comment in the chat, is about the importance of holidays for different groups of people, different faiths, and how that the DOE calendar is missing some really important holidays and very popular holidays.
So I would really like to know what those holidays are. So if you can contact our school district office. I will say that one of the things that we are building capacity in as a district is really working with individual schools in celebration of our culture and religions across our communities. At our last year at one of our CEC meetings, we introduced our curriculum hub, where schools that engage in units of study that are aligned to the cultures and communities that they serve, we are sharing them across the district. So all of our schools have access to learning about the diversity of District 25. And we're also sharing that work with the city. So if you could please you could list it in the chat, or you can email us, or you can contact Lewis directly, because I'm interested in knowing about those holidays and what time of the year that they are. In terms of the calendar, we can escalate that to our central offices, because we don't make the citywide calendar, but it is definitely a great opportunity for me and my staff to gain an understanding of the different cultures and celebrations that happen in communities across the district.
Thank you. This is a great question. Can there be foreign language classes initiative? My middle schooler has double math 3 times a week, double ELA twice, and double social studies twice, but there's no foreign language.
So, Adrian, there is a requirement for a minimum of 1 year of foreign language in middle school. And, you know, once again, when we were talking about just empowering communities, that is a conversation to have at the school level. There are some schools that offer 2 years of language, and that allows students to have an opportunity to take more rigorous courses when they get to high school. We do offer a variety of languages in our middle schools. We offer Korean, Chinese. We also offer Spanish. So I don't know what grade your child is in or what school that they go to, but that is definitely a conversation that can be had at the school level around offerings. And many of our expansion of our language programs across our schools did come from parents communicating with their school communities around the need to expand on a certain subject area. So what you're talking about is a great question. And once again, you can, if you want to let us know what school you're from, we'll be happy to send that along to the principal so she can engage in that conversation with you as well.
Yeah, you can either private message me or you can send us a text and just say hello and we'll get that information. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. So someone's when we talk about the holidays, we're talking about Lunar New Year is missing. So Lunar New Year is a holiday that we get off in New York City schools. Unless it falls on a weekend, then that day is not off because school's already closed on weekends. Okay. And the parent asking about the holidays did list the holidays in the chat, and I thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Another question just popped in. Can I ask if there's some sort of guideline that schools had to adhere to regarding classroom assignments? Our principal did not assign classes until right before the first day of school.
So there are a lot of moving parts that go into organizing your school. It's not necessarily that the principal didn't assign classes until the first day of school, but programming does take a little while depending upon the size of your school. And there's also other pieces of the puzzle, such as hiring of teachers, what types of classes will be offered. So I will say, one of the things that schools don't like to do is give out class assignments prior to the end of school year and then have to change them, because actually schools are finalized once the programming is complete. So I don't know if there's no requirement that says a student must receive their class in June. And so I know that many of our schools don't send class assignments probably until right before school starts.
Awesome. And just for Dina, I found some stuff for you regarding the health curriculum that's public on the DOE website. I'm going to put that in the chat. Hopefully you're still here. And then if you have any questions, you can still contact us, of course, but this is a whole bunch of stuff for you. Okay. Okay.
All right. Is that it? Well, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And as you have seen from our presentation, Louis, you have a slide with our website. You can just put it in the chat one more time.
Sure.
You guys can reach us at any time. We are available via email, phone call, text. So we look forward to hearing from you. And thank you all for being here tonight. And as I said, I'm pretty excited. This was the most well-attended listening and learning tour that I had. So one other question, are schools allowed to have their own websites, Louis? Louis does the technology.
I mean, every school should have a website. and I think I know what school you are from.
If a school doesn't have a website, then we should help support.
Yes, and I think I know what school you're from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Miss DiMango. It's Miss Chu again. May I ask another question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you raised your hand again. I thought it was still up from before.
Sure,
yes,
Ms.
yes.
Chu.
Sure.
No, I
Last
do have
question.
another question, and I had put it in the chat that I had another question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it.
So, well, actually, I wanted to circle back to my first question, which was with regards to the, vaccine mandate, which I'll have to follow up with the mayor's office. But I just want to add, if you could please share, with the office that as a parent and as a former, student of the New York City DOE system, as well as an educator myself for many, many years. So I have definitely seen the challenges that COVID has brought to students, to educators, to the whole system in general. And I can certainly understand why there were many mandates that were put into place to preserve the safety and well-being of students and of staff. So for everyone's benefit, I think though at this point now, given where we are, the progress that has been made, that it's really important that there is more connections, in-person connections. This is something I think is really important for the mental health and wellness of our students. I am a counselor by training, so I can certainly attest that there is a tremendous amount of data and research that will back that up. Okay, so it is disheartening to hear that this mandate is still in existence, and I feel that, like, for me at this point, because my child's an 8th grader. Okay, this is going to be her last year of middle school. So I want this to be the most meaningful year that she can have before she finishes her middle school experience. And for me, that means that the school will have opportunities to provide in-person experiences, to really be able to, I think, to be able to really further the partnership between families and schools.
Yep, I will certainly forward that. And I know that there have been other parents who have asked me to do the same, so I will absolutely forward that. But I will say to you, one of the things that I want parents to know is that our schools are open for our students, and our in-person experiences are a priority for our principals and myself. There's a lot of different things that our students are doing right now. They are back together. They are learning. They are working in groups. They are in gym. They are in the auditoriums together. So we are very excited to be back at school and to provide our students with the experience. And as I say, as we are emerging from this pandemic, we are in a much better space than we were many years ago. So, and I do know that that has been the topic of discussion. I don't make those decisions, but I hear what you are saying, and I agree with that. It was actually in District 25 is one of the things that we did. We had graduations in the best way that we could in June. We had a summer graduation for those students as well. So we are ready and want these experiences, and 100% agree with what you're saying in making that parent-school connection.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I did, just going back to what some others had mentioned in terms of the class sizes. And I know you mentioned about the bill to reduce class sizes. And although I, as an educator, see the value in reducing class sizes, I also am trying to be thoughtful of how that will actually happen given the physical constraints of our schools. As I said, I am a former New York City DOE student. So I went through elementary, middle, and high school. And I went to a very large high school many years ago, approximately 1,000 students per grade. So many of our high schools right here in our district are still pretty much at that size, if not larger. Some of them may even have like I think they even have like different like schedules, right? They may have a morning shift and a later shift. So although reducing class sizes, I believe would be helpful in many ways, I'm just curious to know, the larger concern is, where will those students go when those classes get reduced? Because as it is, we have trailers in some of our high schools. I know my high school many, many years ago had trailers, and I believe those trailers are still there. So that's a very big concern on my part, since my daughter's in 8th grade. And as I start visiting and going to open houses of some of the high schools and exploring some of the options that are available, these large high schools, I actually really would like for her to attend a larger high school, as they offer more options for students, not just academically, but also in different programs, you know, after school. But my concern is that, you know, if we're looking at, and this is a 5-year plan, so in some ways it probably won't impact my child as much as maybe others, but that is something that I think I'm just concerned, like, how will that actually work? Unless perhaps some additional schools are built in this, you know.
Yeah, so I actually can speak to that in terms of, so my superintendency is from K to 8, right? So I don't want to speak necessarily in terms of planning and programming and scheduling for high schools, because even in terms, although I was a high school teacher for a very brief time, my administrative work is in the K to 8 realm. One of the things that I can tell you that we've been working on strategically in District 25 is the expansions and building of new schools. Our CEC has been formed very strong partnerships with both the district and the school construction authority. We have many schools across the district that have expanded seating. So we are waiting to hear what the plan will be as they roll it out in 5 years. But we also have worked very hard to expand capacity in many of our schools. We have a new school coming online that they're starting to build that will be up within the next 5 years. We just expanded a few blocks away from that school for Bell Academy in 169. PS 32 is getting another extension. PS 129, we just finished an extension in that building. So we're constantly looking and working with SCA to find lands to build schools, but we are also working to expand and add seats to our schools as well.
Okay, thank you so much. And I do appreciate all the efforts that everyone has made to try to make, these last few years. It's been very, very challenging, but I definitely want to give a tremendous amount of kudos to the staff.
Por favor,
Oh, wait.
¿Sí me puede escuchar o no?
You mute Esther. Okay. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to thank everybody for all of their hard work, the administration, the teachers, all the support staff, the PPS, like everybody in the schools and all the parents, the PTAs, like all the different members that have helped to really, really try to help, the students and families over these last, couple of years. It's been very challenging. As a parent myself, I certainly have seen, the challenges, but also as an educator, I definitely want to say I'm very appreciative, of what my child has received. I think my child has received a very good education, in her K through 7 experience. So I'm really, really happy with what she has received as a student in District 25 since, her very, very early beginnings. And she went to a very large elementary school in District 25. So I'm really appreciative for that. I think just now moving forward, now that she is finishing her final year of middle school, I do have a lot of apprehension moving forward. So I definitely want there to be continue dialogue to ensure that,
I think there will be. And I like I said, I can speak for district only for the K to 8 realm, but I also know that SCA has formed some really strong partnerships across the city to help support us in meeting our seat capacity and now exceeding it. There is one question that is in the chat that I do want to answer before we leave, and it is from May. And the question is it true that some students have been forced out of their zone schools because of the lottery? Absolutely not. And I'm really glad you asked that question, because I would never want families to think that that is the case. So we are a school of choice. We are a district of choice. We offer a wide variety of choices for our families. I'll just briefly go through some of them. We have our early childhood options, such as our pre-K centers, which house 3K and pre-K. We have 2 early childhood schools, which offer pre-K to 3. We also have other types of application schools, such as PSIS 499, which is a borough-wide school where anyone from across Queens can apply. And then we have other types of application schools that our families have opportunities to apply for, such as Bell Academy. And then some of our 6 to 12s, which are also application schools, such as World Journalism, QSI, which don't fall into my district, but they're opportunities for parents to have choice. We are also a middle school choice district, which means when you apply to middle school, you can apply to any middle school in the district. And that is a lottery process. But as part of that process, we do still offer zoning, which means if you are zoned to a particular middle school and you apply to it, and it is your choice to go there, you can go there. So in terms of middle school choice, no zoned student is forced out of a school because of the lottery.
Great, thank you. So I want to thank everyone again for joining today. I just put the link in the chat for the listening and learning tour different events that we're having. So if you're interested, you can always join a future event. We have a bunch of in-person events happening all throughout the district and more virtual events as well.
Yes, and Louis, I do want to thank Patty for putting the parent-teacher conferences information. It was not something that I was able to pull up very quickly, but so I think it's important for parents to know that all parent-teacher conferences for 2022-23 school year are virtual. However, if you would like to meet with staff members in person, you can contact your school.
Thank you. All right. And the recording of this meeting will be available online as well. And I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.